Thank you so much for joining us today for this Waterstones online event to celebrate the UK release date for one of my favorite books of the year and one of my favorite authors ever. And if you don't know me, you don't know who I am. Hi, my name is Emmy. I'm also known as What Emmy Reads, and I read a lot of books online. And I'm so excited to be here and chatting with our incredible author, Rachel. So, everyone virtually give a round of applause for Rachel, who's going to come on and chat with us today.
Hi.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi.
Happy UK Publication Day.
Thank you. It's a very exciting day.
I know, I'm so excited. I finally have my copy in my hands, and I hope everyone else here also has a copy of the book, or if not yet, it's on its way to you, or you're going to go pick it up tomorrow. But I thought it'd be a great way to start off this event for any readers who haven't read your work yet, as the book's just come out today. If you could start by telling us a little bit about yourself and about the book Metal Slinger.
Hi. My name is Rachel. I live in Louisiana. Um, I wrote on the side for many, many years, before Metal Slinger. Um, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So for anyone who hasn't read the book, Metal Singer yet doesn't really know anything about it, though I'm sure everyone here is already very excited for it and knows a lot about it. How would you describe this story in 3 words?
Um, Three words would be action, adventure, romantic.
Oh, three very good words as someone who's read the book 3 times now already. Um, I think that's a very good description of the kind of vibes that you can expect from the story itself. Um, could you tell us a little bit about what inspired the story of Metal Slinger and what made you want to write a fantasy romance in the first place?
Fantasy romance is so delicious because it's high stakes. There's a lot more dynamics that make the romance aspect of it, all the more intriguing and tension filled. So I wanted to write something that had that, like um, the thought that if these two mates actually love each other, someone might die. Like that's really interesting, or something of that sort. And so I wanted to write something that had that aspect to it.
Yeah, very exciting. As someone who reads mainly fantasy romance, I'm very biased, but I definitely think it's the best genre. Um, so in Metal Singer, we have a really fun and unique setup, and with the world building and population being split into the Alaha and the Kenta. So we've got the people who live on the land and the people who live across the sea. How did you come up with the idea to write about people living on the sea? Because that's such a unique and really fun premise to read about in the story.
I don't know. I get asked this all the time, and I really don't know what triggered it. It was just in my brain one day. If I tried really hard to think about it today, and I don't know if I'm imagining this, but I feel like Avatar inspired me somehow, and I'm not sure how. Maybe because they live in the trees. I don't know. I can't pinpoint it honestly.
No, it makes it for a really, really engaging read, but also I think such vivid imagery in the story itself. Like when I was reading it, I was able to see and picture absolutely everything. And I think that was such a big part of what like really dragged or like pulled me into the story and made it a really, really fun, exciting read. Also, I can see
That's
a lot of comments happening in the chat. If anyone can't see that as well, we do have a little Q&A box and section here that throughout this, this talk, if you have any questions, you can send them through there. And at the end of this event, we will be asking Rachel some of those questions, some of your questions. So sorry to cut you off there, Rachel.
no, 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 no. You're good.
Um, so definitely want to touch on how you find balance writing romance, interesting plot, and action in your stories and how you do it so effectively. Because I think in the book we have a really good blend and balance of it all.
I tend to operate when I'm writing under the guise that, like, if I'm bored writing it, someone's going to be bored reading it.
Mhm.
And so it's important to me that every aspect of the story is interesting. If one aspect is lacking, and then the reader is going to pick up on that. And so I just write really what entertains me and hope that whoever reads it is also entertained.
Do you have a favorite type of scene to write if you prefer writing like the action or the romance?
No, because I'm such a mood writer, kind of like a
Yeah.
mood reader. Like if my brain's really firing that day, then an action scene. If it's like melancholy and then maybe a heartbreaking scene, it's really about what mood I'm in.
So our FMC or female main character, Bryn, is quite the badass in this story, and I think she has a lot of admirable traits. What traits or characteristics do you find most essential when it comes to writing your female leads or just any female characters in general? Because we also do have a whole cast of some really cool female characters in this story.
Um, I think in fantasy romance in particular, it's always the female main characters are always so dynamic. To have multiple aspects to them, they're not one-dimensional or two-dimensional. They're vulnerable yet strong, kind but stern. And so to really bring all those, because in women in everyday life, we are all those things. So to bring that together in a fantasy romance is like ideal to me to make the reader, if she's, when I read, I'm every female main character. So if someone reads the female main character and they feel like they connect with her, that's like most important.
Yeah, I definitely think there were elements in Bryn that we all could probably relate to and see bits of ourselves with, as well as our other main female characters. And also, I think so many fantasy romance readers and readers in general come from reading books where they kind of self-insert. Like we all see ourselves as the female main character. If the author is like,
Mhm.
she has long, dark black hair, I'm like, no, she doesn't. She has golden blonde hair. Well, we can't speak about our female main characters without touching on our main male characters. And they are all very different, but also very fun to read about, and total book boyfriends, of course. What traits or characteristics does your ideal or dream book boyfriend have? Like yours personally, if you were to build your dream book boyfriend?
He's just got to be obsessed with the female main character.
Yeah, yes,
Yeah, that's
that's
like, yeah,
I guess when you're writing a romance as well, that's what we all want to read and want to see is that type of love. It's also what our FMCs deserve after all the battles and struggles that they get thrown into in the story.
yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah. Now, which of your characters was the most challenging to write, and which was the most fun to write, and why?
Um, so Acre was really the most challenging because I wanted to get him right. And he is also dynamic. This soft but strong, male character. And then like the most fun was Messer because he pretty much operates on intrusive thoughts. So if something popped in my head, I was like, yeah, Messer would say that. So he was really, really fun to write.
Is also a really, really fun character to read about. I think he's the most colorful and creative character that we meet
Hmm.
in Metal
Hmm.
Slinger. When it comes to writing your books, do you plot in detail beforehand, or do you discover the story as you write and go along?
I u- I usually walk in with plot points I want to hit by a certain percentage of the book, like a certain word count, and then I try to let the characters and the story unfold organically in between those.
So a good mix of both.
Hmm.
Yeah. Are there any favorite tropes or moments that you've written in this book or that you didn't get to include in the final book or draft that you'd love to write in the future?
Well, there's a lot that I didn't include in this book that I wanted to. It was originally supposed to be a standalone, but it was going to be the largest standalone that's ever existed. So I had to expand it to two books. But for Metal Singer, my favorite scenes really were writing the boat scenes. Those were really, really sweet and fun to write.
Yeah, very, very fun to read as well. Is my personal favorite scene, I think, has to be the whiskey glass. I think that was a very, very fun scene. If you've read the book, you know, and if you don't, you're going to have so much fun going into that. Now, I know you're a big Swiftie. We love Taylor Swift over here. But if you had to pick a song to soundtrack book one, but also book two, what would they be?
Just one? Like I'm stuck on one?
You can give us as many as one. You can give us five. We would love to hear all of them if there's a different vibe for each era in the story.
Uh-huh. It's really hard to only pick one. I think for Metal Slinger, High by Steven Sanchez, there is another one, but I think is a little spoilery, so I'm not going to say it. And then for book two, I think You Should See Me in a Crown by Billie Eilish, and then Till Death by Cray.
Oh, yeah, that's just come out as well. I hope everyone's
Mhm.
gone and listened to that. That is incredible having a song written inspired by the story.
It very crazy. And she sent it to me as I was writing book two. And so like if I was going into a scene and I was like, I need inspiration, I would just play it.
That's incredible. Now, going back to, I guess, your journey as a writer from the start, we're jumping back in time. Um, what inspired you to start writing? Was it a specific moment in time, an author, a book you read? What made you want to pick up a pen or open a computer, I guess in this case, for the first time and write a story?
Well, whenever I was like a teenager, I would write like scenes and I would like perfect a scene. For a long time, I did that. But I often joke that I just have an overactive imagination. So I needed an outlet for it. I needed a way to like live the stories that live in my head, put them out into the world. And so writing was the best outlet for that. I think like for actors, it's probably acting or, painting for some people. I think it's just finding that outlet that suits your brain.
Excuse me. What's been the most unexpected source of inspiration that you've used for the book or a specific character?
Speaking of whiskey glasses, uh, a whiskey glass. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that was
Yeah.
written so well. Very fun. I also think it's one of those things now whenever I see a whiskey glass, I think of the book. Whenever I see someone using the emoji, I think of the book. So I'm like it's great almost marketing there in that way because I can never look at a whiskey glass the same now.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
When you're in writing mode, I know you've been busy writing away with book two. Do you read when you were writing, or is that something that you don't do at all? No.
I can't
Yeah.
make me start questioning everything I'm writing. So no, I don't. If I reach a level of burnout or I need a break, and then I will take a break to read. But it's often if I'm in the middle of writing, I'm not reading a fantasy romance. I'm reading a sports or a contemporary or a dark or something else. And then after I'm done writing, and then I'll jump back into fantasy.
Were there any books or authors that after you had finished writing, you're like, I'm definitely going to be picking that up or reading that or saving that for when you're out of writing mode?
Yeah, because I accidentally trapped myself into like a couple years of writing, just back to back. And so I have a TBR that is ungodly long.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite authors that are on that TBR?
Oh, like I haven't read Quicksilver or Fourth Wing
Oh,
or
good ones.
because all those came out in the middle of me writing. And so they're all just waiting for me. Crescent City, all of them.
Some some great ones to dive into when you're done then a good lineup
Mhm.
there. When you're writing and in writing mode, what does a typical writing day look like for you? Do you have like a writing routine, a specific setup? Does it vary day to day, or what part of the process you're in, if it's writing or editing?
Yeah, so if I'm drafting like straight writing, it can vary day to day because like I'm a mood writer. It depends on where I want to be. So like for like quicker scenes or faster scenes, that's the same word. Those are synonyms. Um, like for a scene that's quicker, I would go to the Mexican restaurant, something that was so I could eat while I just wrote it all out. And then sometimes I'd go to the library for something a little moodier. Um, Something really heavy though, I would typically write in my bed at night while my husband snores.
I know you touched on talking about creative burnout. I feel like that's definitely something that every creative person, and especially authors, struggles with and deals with at a point in their whole creative process. So, how do you deal with writer's block or creative burnout?
I don't even think I have a good answer because I still haven't figured it out. Um, just staying in the story every day. Like sometimes um, on the days that I've been forced to take a break, I realize that it really hinders me when I try to immediately get back into the story. So even if it's just for an hour to sit down and dedicate time to it, um, but also don't push too hard. Because if you do push, or from me, if I push too hard, I typically just end up deleting those words. But sometimes that has to happen. Sometimes you have to throw down a lot of junk before you get something good.
That's some great advice there. Now, obviously, I felt very lucky to see and read the book from when it was first originally indie published to getting picked up and then trad published internationally and everyone reading it. How has your writing process evolved from when this book first came out, or even with your debut with your earlier works, your books before Metal Slinger, on from being originally self-published to now trad published?
So I published Metal Slinger when one person had read it, other than my editor, which is kind of crazy to think about now. Because moving into trad publishing, there's deadlines and then there's editing. There's a lot of editing. Should, I wasn't knowledgeable on the different stages of editing and whatnot. That really helps polish the story and make it better. Um, I don't know, as in drafting wise, if much has changed other than knowing that there's a deadline sitting at the end.
Yeah, you got more of a rigid structure and hard deadlines, I guess, than
Yeah,
doing
but honestly, I kind of need it because I'm so type
it.
B that, if I don't have it, then I almost can't even, I don't hold myself accountable very well. So,
Yeah, that's definitely fair. For any authors who are trying to write their first fantasy, any aspiring authors, what advice would you give to them as someone who's gone through this whole process in the last year and a half?
writing wise, just write what you love, write what you would want to read. Um, as in being an author, just keep at it. Whenever you feel like it's a lot or whatnot, take a break, but don't give up.
Some really good advice there. What would be the most surprising thing that you learned while writing your books?
In what aspect?
Any aspect, just something that you didn't expect to go into, that it surprised you, something that you found challenging that you didn't expect to, part of the journey that you really loved that you didn't expect to.
I don't know if I have a good answer for that because I don't know. I've never thought about it really.
So it's been quite not straightforward, but as expected.
Oh, no, as in publishing and, getting traditionally published? No. I didn't think anyone would read Metal Slinger, hence publishing it after one person read it. So no, it's definitely been life altering, mind altering, just oh, so yeah, that's the answer is that everything in my life is different. So yeah, all of it's been surprising to be honest with you. I thought like maybe in the aspect of writing it, but um no, everything's surprising.
I see someone in the chat, Nicole says, now the Queen has a whole fandom, which is so true. If one person reads it, you're like, yeah, let's go for it. And now everyone's here and cheering you on and so excited to have the book and read it and pick it up and support. And I know we're all very excited to continue seeing what you put out there and what is still to come in this world.
Yeah, to know that there was people out there that liked what I wrote, that understood it, that got to the end and said, I loved that. That was the best of all the surprises, for sure.
If you could go back to yourself over a year and a half ago, 2 years, when you first started writing this story, what's one thing that you wish you knew then that you know now, or one thing that you could go back and tell yourself if you could?
Sleep.
Prioritize
I'm
sleep.
terrible at prioritizing sleep, but I've learned that it's very, very important. And to breathe.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I think all creatives and authors take for granted, or just not even take for granted, but don't do enough of or prioritize. Who
Yeah, it's hard to turn your brain off, especially whenever life feels like it's moving so fast. Definitely need to take a moment to be like, it's okay to rest.
That's a good one. What was the most difficult part of writing book one?
The the ending and making sure I didn't back myself into a corner. Um, so yeah, there was a lot of thought and planning that went into that.
Spoiler free, but how did you get the inspo for the ending?
It was originally supposed to end differently.
So there's an alternate ending out there somewhere.
Yeah. And I wasn't happy with it totally. I was writing, but then I would kind of be like, I don't know. It didn't feel fulfilling. Um, and it wasn't until I saw a TikTok from another creator who had said that like all her reasons why she loved fantasy romance and that made me go, oh, I can write whatever I want. I don't know, it didn't occur to me before then. So once I was like, no, I wanna do this a different way than when I was originally planning, that I was like, okay, yeah.
I think it was definitely or could have felt like a bolder, a risky move to make with the story because depending on, how the readers will take it and writing it, I definitely think it's something that made the book for me personally. I know so many other people loved it and read it, and I think that risk really paid off because it makes for such a memorable read, but also as someone who's gone in and done a reread you're just seeing things differently after the end. And I just think it's genius. Like I think
Oh,
it's so smart. I think I remember saying as soon as I read the book, a specific Taylor Swift song came on in my head. And I was like, this is exactly like you're genius. You're a mastermind. And
I
it
wouldn't
really
say that, but
I
it
will say
does.
it for you.
That's a thing that was surprising because I wasn't sure. I was like, is this too much? Is it too far? Are people gonna get it? Are they gonna be mad? Um, but also still not believing anyone would read it. I don't know if I would have went through with it
Mhm.
if I would have expected more people to read it. I would have. I hate to say that maybe I would have felt like I had to take the safe route, and I'm glad that it was published with I thought that it was just going to be like me and my mom and my best friend who read it.
Yeah, I think that it was meant to be in that case then because it's such a special read to me, as I'm sure many other readers are just as obsessed and have a personal connection to the story. But it definitely made it a really refreshing and memorable read, and something that I feel like whether you read the book and you loved it. Like you're screaming at it. You're getting into it and excited, and certain feeling and emotion is being evoked, regardless of your thoughts on the book overall. And I think that as a reader, that's one of my personal favorite things about being a reader is getting so invested and involved that a book physically makes me feel things and want to scream about it with other people and readers. Did you expect that so many readers would have such strong reactions to the book?
Well, again, I didn't think anyone would read it, but when I had originally wrote it and I had sent it to my best friend, I had given her all but the last two chapters. And I said, read this. And then when I gave her the last two chapters, her reaction was, I mean, she immediately called me and was yelling at me. And I was like, okay, yeah, so this is, yeah, okay, I'm gonna keep it then. Because I wasn't 100% sure I was gonna wait for, like, if she was like, no, this is terrible. And then, whatever. But so her reaction really solidified it for me. But to see that tenfold, all the people that are warned to record their reaction, I love watching those. Those are amazing. Someone sent me a video like an hour ago that I watched. She was like cheering. She loved it. So that's probably been one of my favorite parts of this whole process.
Yeah, that's one of the things I kicked myself for was not filming my reaction to the book, just to have documented and look back on because it's still one of my favorite endings of a book probably I've ever read. And but it was too good of a book that I just couldn't put it down. So it was like 3 o'clock in the morning in bed in the dark. I'm trying not to gasp to wake up my boyfriend and freaking out to myself. And I'm like, oh my God, it's crazy. And yeah, I think I just knew from then that I was gonna make everyone read it. So I could see people in the chat saying they picked it up because of me, and I'm so glad you all listened. And for anyone who's here and hasn't read it yet, this is your sign because everyone is talking about how incredible this book is and that ending is. That's your sign to pick up the book and read it. But I know you've mentioned, or we've talked about the fact that there's obviously a second book and it's a duology for these characters' stories. But have you, when you first started writing the book, did you think that you would want to continue writing in like a larger universe, like a lot of fantasy writers do, if you would continue writing stories in this world? Or were you very much like just this story and seeing how it goes?
Um, so like I think I've heard other authors say this. It it's hard to stop your brain.
Yeah.
So, and once you're invested in characters, it's hard to not want to give them their own story. So there was definitely times when writing Metal Slinger that I was like, ooh, this feels really good for later. So I definitely wanted to venture it further out. I just, I try really hard because my brain will try to get me to jump around to focus on what I'm writing at the time before allowing my brain to really go the next level.
Yeah, that's I feel like I would also I could never write a book. Like authors to me are so inspiring and incredible and create like how you can take a thought or an idea and a story and put it down in words where writers can or readers can read it and connect and feel something and see pictures in their mind, I think is one of the most incredible things ever and so talented for doing that. So yeah, being having writing such an incredible world and story and cast of characters, I can only imagine how difficult it would be once the characters come to life and start speaking to you in your head, that it'd be hard to not hear them, hear them talking and
Yeah.
want to expand and develop and get caught off guard with that. So has it been quite difficult focusing on this story and, book one and two and these characters without going and oh, I'm going to write five more books in this series or this character needs a book and etc. etc.
Well, as book two started wrapping up and I gotten, finished the drafting and went into editing, book three was like just heavy, heavy on my mind. And I think after like we had a 3 hour trip to go see family. Um, and so that just gave me endless time to like space out. And then I started like right at the last 5 minutes, I called my best friend. I was like, hey, so this is what I'm thinking. And my husband was like, you're crazy. He was like, you've been thinking about this whole time. And I was like, yeah, pretty much.
No, I see some people saying book three. I'm pretty sure you said that these characters in this story is two books, and we're following these, but there will be a third installment in this world. Correct me if I'm correct.
Yes. So, Jovi's story will wrap in two, but the overarching dilemma or theme plot is going to pull into book three.
Oh, so many excited people that I think that's just made so many people's days, weeks, month, year. Guys, everyone needs to be following Rachel on socials because she drops all of this on on a regular basis. If you, I know I always see people asking me as well for any inside info on book two and stuff. I'm like, follow Rachel. She spills it all herself. But yeah, going back to talking about fantasy book, I know before you earlier we were talking about writing fantasy romance and the elements of it that were, challenging or that you enjoyed and combining them. But you've written previous books that weren't fantasy. So is this technically your first fantasy story? And
It is. I
yeah,
had written prop new adult contemporary, but it was always suspense a little bit. There was always an extra aspect to kind of surprise the reader that I always liked writing. So transitioning into fantasy, the hardest part I felt that was challenging was the world building to give those descriptions of the water and the trees and the things that people maybe can't visualize as easily as being like, yeah, I'm going to the supermarket. That took just a little extra oomph to get it there.
I think that would also be the most, I can imagine how difficult that would be because you're creating an entire new world that a reader needs to understand and visualize, especially when you have such a interesting or unique magic systems in it. But I think you did a really amazing job in this story. I thought it was so easy to follow along and read. And again, I think it's one of the most fast-paced, fun reads of the year. I read it last year. It was also my favorite read of last year. So I think you did an incredible job with that. Are there any other genres that you think you'd one day want to write into and branch out into, or do you think right now you're set with your fantasy? You found your thing. Do you think you ever go back to doing more romance or dark romance?
So, fantasy is definitely where I'm at right now, but I do reach points of being like, I do need a breather because it can be a lot. That I'll work on. I have like this rock star romance sitting in a file. Um, Stuff like that I don't know if I'm 100% dedicated to at the moment,
Mhm.
but I definitely there's a million stories in there that are ruminating.
That's very exciting. I think as someone who's a mood reader and you've spoken about mood writing, I can
Mhm.
imagine they both kind of go hand in hand, where sometimes you need a little bit of a break. But
Right, 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 right.
yeah, anything you write, I think will be sat and reading. So that's super exciting to hear. Um, Kind of jumping back to talking about some of the characters, if you could take one of your characters to sit down with and have a conversation in real life, who would it be?
Bo.
Yeah.
I want her to tell me all the things she can see about me. I want to know. Give it to me.
Oh, that's a good one. For some reason, I thought that you were going to say Messer because I just feel like he's so many people's favorite character that I think he'd be hilarious to sit down and have a conversation with. But
He would be a
you,
good drinking buddy for sure.
oh yeah, you, he'd be a great drinking buddy. Is there a character? Well, I know we said that they see the FMC as yourself, and as readers do, we, insert
Mhm.
ourselves into stories. But are there any other characters that you see yourself in the most?
Greta.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm an introvert, so the idea of like living in a library and helping people pick out books, that sounds great.
That is incredible. And talking about going from indie to trad published and a lot of social media coverage on this, a lot of people loving this book. How have you found handling feedback and criticism on social media?
Um, it's not easy. Um, for me personally, I kind of view, I love when I get tagged in a review of someone that loved it, that wants to jabber about it. That's amazing. But negative reviews are not meant for me. Um, they're just not. Um, so I pretty much just avoid them. Unless if someone sends me like a funny one-star review, I don't go looking for them. I don't want to see them. So that's pretty much my motto.
I think it's one of those things that so many authors and everyone has to experience or deal with, and I can um understand that it comes with being an author. Everyone's going to have an opinion on your book, but I think yeah, you handle it so well, and
For
also
sure. I mean, it's subjective. I mean, there's definitely been people that get to the end and said it was a great book till the ending, and they hated it. And that's okay. That's fine. That's totally, totally fine. But reviews are meant to like either sway or persuade someone to read the book. I think my job is just to put it out into the world. I hope people love it. I want people to love it. And I think that the right people for it will find it.
I definitely agree with that. And it's so funny that you say that some people get to the end and then they're like, I hate it. And there's so many of us that get to the end and we're like, this is what makes the book. Like, this is
Hmm. Yeah.
the best part of the book. And you talking about those like funny one-star reviews, the amount of times I've seen a funny one-liner for a review or something, a negative review, and that's the reason I've gone and picked up the book and loved it.
Right. Even negative reviews sell books sometimes. Sometimes I'll see someone write a review and be like, it was like too spicy. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm gonna one click that. So, it's to each their own.
Yeah. Kind of coming a little bit full circle with all these questions. We've got some rapid fire questions I'm going to ask you next, but the last main question is going to be what the most rewarding process you experienced during the writing process or the book being published was, what highlight of it for you?
This is, I mean, all the readers that have found it, sometimes when I look at, your analytics on Instagram or something, it'll give me like heart palpitations. Um, Whenever you would send me, I think sometimes you would like be like Goodreads reviews are at this number, and I'd be like, what is happening? So just that the book found its people, that's like really, really amazing. Um, Also seeing my book in Walmart was life altering. Saw that on Father's Day and I was so excited. My daughter was like, okay, but it's Father's Day, calm down. Um, so she'll definitely humble me really fast. So there are no words. As someone that writes words, there are not words to describe what it's been like.
No, that's amazing and incredible. And like I said earlier, I feel so like lucky to have been I think I was one of the first 30 people to read and rate it on Goodreads, which
You
feels
were like 17th. I don't know. You were up there.
one of the first. So seeing it grow and it reach so many readers, and a book that I'm very passionate about and love and adore and love to shout about with so many people. I'm so glad that so many people feel the same way about it as I do. And I can't wait to also go into my local Waterstones and see it in person. Be like, there's Middle Singer. Because it only just come out here in the UK. So I haven't seen it in the wild yet, but that's going to be very exciting.
Yes.
But yeah, I've got some this or that type questions. So you can elaborate, but just go with your gut. Which one you're drawn to first, or you think of. So land or sea?
Land. I get seasick.
Same. Yeah, I like to be planted on land. Paperback or hardcover?
Paperback. I
Ooh,
want to be able to fold it.
are you a spine breaker?
I am. Like if I'm reading a physical book, not like one on my Kindle, or on my phone, and then I need to be worn in.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I think a well worn in book is a sign of a well loved book.
Yes, I agree. Like if all my books were, I read all of them physically, I can't anymore because it's so hard, it's so much harder to like carry them around
Hmm.
and read on the go. It's so much easier to just have it on your Kindle. Um, but if all my books could have been like the wear and tear of being at the beach, like it got wet, and I would love that so much.
I love that too. Acre or Messer?
Um,
Putting you on the spot.
for right now, in my mood writing era, it's Acre.
Yeah. Bryn or Bow? It's like making you pick a favorite child. It's very
Yeah,
personal.
kind of. This is terrible. It's um a little sadistic. I like it. I would say Bryn for
Yeah,
now. Yeah, in this mood, Bryn.
yeah. Bow to sit down and have a conversation with and to tell her your whole future, but Bryn.
Yeah, Bo would be like the ride or die best friend.
Yeah, definitely. I would love to have Bow as a best friend.
Hmm.
One horse or one bed trope?
One horse because it usually lasts longer.
Oh, that yeah, that I've never thought about it in that way. That's a good one. Pining or passion?
Pining, I guess,
Yeah, I
because
love it
that
with the
tends
yelling.
to lead to a slow burn, and I really
Yeah,
like a slow burn. But passion has its places,
yeah,
but also pining comes with passion.
yes. But
So,
they both have a bit of each other in it, and you can
hmm.
say both if you can't. We'd be greedy and have both.
Okay, if I can have both, if that was an option, then both.
Yeah, we can make up our own rules to this. So whatever you want, Rachel. Slow burn or forced proximity?
Oh, and then both.
Yeah.
Now that you've given me the option, Bo
Everyone I
and
ask you now
Bryn,
is just
I want to
convincing
bring this back Acre and Messer.
me. Reading or writing?
Again, it's like you can't have one without the other. Before I wrote, I was a reader. And so, um, the love of stories, oh gosh, that's hard. Both.
Yeah, both. Enemies to lovers or found family?
Found family.
Wonderful. And then you kind of gave us three words at the beginning for book one, but anyone who hasn't read Metal Slinger yet, um, if you can just give one word for book one and one word for book two,
One word is very, very
it's a
difficult.
challenge.
Um, I think I would still have to stick with Metal Singer would be fun, I think. Book two would be daring.
Daring. Oh, that's a good one. I've got one last question before we jump into the Q&A. So for anyone who hasn't sent in their questions yet, now's your chance to go and in the little Q&A section, send in your question and I'm going to go through and ask Rachel them. But the last question I have for you, Rachel, is for book two, from 0 to 100%, how much angst and emotional damage can we expect?
It's all subjective. Um, that's really hard for me to say. Um, a lot of angst. There is some emotional damage, I would believe. Um, but you gotta trust the process.
Yeah,
Gotta have faith.
that's good. So, yeah.
You're
Right.
like, so no percentage.
So yeah, I'm like, so no percentage, prepare for the unexpected, no expectations, go into it and enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah. Just like how I think is recommended for Metal Singer to go in the same way.
Yeah, I think that's good. That's a great way to answer that and get out of that. Cheeky. All right, time for the audience Q&A. Thank you everyone who sent in your questions so far. So I'm gonna scroll through and then we'll ask Rachel some of them. So um, I think we have the first one from Megan. Megan says, what self-care do you do after a book event?
Well, I haven't gone to a book event in a very long time. I haven't done a signing in almost 10 years. So, I know that 10 years ago, I would hermit for a little while. It's like I had all the fun, and now I'm gonna like hibernate,
That's a good one.
read, read all the books I bought.
Oh, we have some really good questions in this. Sorry, I'm just scrolling, seeing because some of these we've answered through our chats. Um, so, oh, this is a good one. Another one from Megan. In your book, what line or quote stand out for your character in your book? Is there a specific line or a quote that you think about a lot from book one?
There's a few, like "You're kind of beautiful when you lie." It was like a little Easter egg that was dropped in. And then I like it when she's like mad when Jovi's mad at Ager for feeding her with a dagger he used to kill someone. When she's like, you use cutlery to I don't remember it word for word, but yeah. That there's a few in there.
Heather says or asks, do you write separate scenes and stitch them together, or do you have a somewhat concrete idea of how the scenes will play out?
Well, for Metal Slinger, I wrote strictly in chronological order, is that the word? Um, for Light Wilder, it was a little different because I was writing from more than one POV. So sometimes I would write a little bit more of one POV and a little bit more of another POV that wasn't necessarily in chronological order.
Oh, that's awesome. That also answers two other questions from Diana and Helen, who asked, will the next book have any other POVs? And if you're a mood writer, does that mean you don't write the books in its chronological order? That's great.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, it'll be dual point of view. And it will, yeah, and I mean, it was still in chronological order, just not in concurrence, if that makes sense.
Rebecca asks, what book do you find yourself going back to again and again? Or what type of book do you tend to settle down with after a day of writing?
So after writing, it's definitely going to be something lighter. I love like a good hockey romance.
Ooh,
A
love hockey
book,
romance.
yeah. A book that I have read over and over again is On the Island by Tracy Jarvis Graves.
That's a that's not one I don't think I've read yet, so I'm gonna have to add that one to my TBR.
It's my favorite book of all time.
I'm definitely gonna have to add that one
Yeah,
to my
you're gonna have to read.
TBR now. Yeah. I feel like this is a really popular one that everyone just loves to ask and know. Carrie says, who would you cast in the film of your book?
So I really only have pinpointed Acre as Matthew Daddario. Um, the other ones are like much more flexible in my mind.
Hmm.
Um, I do kind of get stuck sometimes on the idea of I don't know the actress's name. She plays in Tell Me Lies.
Oh, I think I know who you mean, but I also cannot decide. I've not seen the show, so I don't know her name.
I think that she would be a very good Bryn with red hair.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one. Also, Matthew Daddario is just that's perfect. As soon as I saw you say that, I think you said it on Instagram on your stories.
Hmm.
I was like, yes, that is my man. I see the vision. I see the
Yeah.
vision. Um, Katie asks, did you expect your book to be traditionally published and how does it feel?
No. I mean, I think like after I did see my book in Walmart, because up to that point it still didn't feel real. Like it didn't, there's no like clicking. Like if you're expecting like this idea of like, oh, it's settled in now, I never felt that. Never felt like it was happening. And then when I saw it in Walmart and I was crying, my husband Googled like, what are the odds of your book getting in Walmart? And it was like 1%. Um, It's definitely, and it's still hard. Like I could tell, like I'm trying to explain it. It doesn't compute. It's almost like my brain is like a little walnut and it won't accept anything. I don't know.
No, I can imagine that's such a crazy feeling. That'd be such a big moment, and also so very deserved. Your book should be available in Walmart because it's just fantastic. Have you ever based a character on a person that you know? Becca asks.
Um, so when I wrote Taking Mine, which is like my first book ever written, um, there was aspects of a couple friends that I had put into it but that was like in my newborn stage, I guess you could say, when I was trying to figure out, how to write characters and how to make them dynamic. And so pulling from real life people really helped with that. But, as I've gotten like as for Metal Singer, there's not anyone in particular that I pulled from.
Leanne asks, are there any major changes between the indie version to the trad published version?
Um, not anything major. The storyline is very much the same. The editing is different. It's going to be more polished. It's going to be smoother. Um, maybe some line changes that are like internal dialogue, maybe. But other than that, no. Like I would say that if you read the indie version, you could still walk into Light Wilder that's traditionally published.
Yeah. Barbara asks, are there any changes which have been made or edited that you wish you could put back in? So is this pretty similar, or even for book two?
No, I felt like the editing made it better,
Yeah,
and with being indie published and also not having any idea what I was doing, um, it needed more editing.
mm,
Authors have teams behind them that I didn't know existed. So, I'm very grateful for, the how they've beautified it. I don't know how else to put it.
yeah. Katie says, how have you found the reaction to the book? I did not know how to feel at the end of that book, and I'm obsessed. And I know we obviously touched earlier on about how you didn't expect anyone to read the book, but I guess since it kind of blew up on TikTok and then being trad published, how have you found um, people's response to the book and how much they love it?
I mean, it's fantastic. I love seeing people's reactions. Every time that I'm tagged in a review and it's someone that's read it for the first time, it's the same, um, like knowing that they get it. Like I, when I wrote it, I felt like I was just writing it for me. So it's so validating to have other people that I guess it's almost like when you love a book and you get someone else to read it and they love it. Except I wrote it. And so it's that feeling.
Yeah. So this one kind of ties into that. We have an anonymous attendee asked, how does it feel to hand your world and characters over to the public on this scale, especially when you've likely been engrossed in the world and attached to them for so long?
Um, it's scary for sure. Like as Metal Slinger progressively kind of grew, the more scared I got. I was like, oh no, I'm really scared now because I didn't expect anyone to read it. But for the most part, I've had such a positive experience. TikTok's been really great to me. Instagram's been, the Goodreads. I haven't felt like I've been on the receiving end of anything hateful. So I have no complaints.
Great. Lorna says, you've talked about TBR, but were there any authors and books that you remember inspired you to write in the first place?
Um, early books of like, I'm trying to think really, really hard. There's a book by Katie Klein that was the first book that made me want to go, oh, I want to write this. And it was a new adult romance, but there was a plot twist in it. There was a big plot twist. And I remember ending that book going, oh, and that made me want to recreate that.
Yeah. We've got a really fun question here from Sam that says, if your book or books could be made into an alternative format like a live action film, animation, game, what would you want it to be?
I would love it to be a graphic novel.
Oh, that would be really fun.
Yeah, like a little spicier one, but yeah.
Yeah. Sarah asks, how do you feel about happy endings in books?
When I'm reading them, I need them. So,
Eleanor says, who would you say inspires you the most?
like in life or um, Murphy Ray was my first editor. I sent her for my first book. Um, and it's because she was the only editor I knew. I didn't really think I could get in with her. I was like, "Can you recommend someone for me?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure, I can help you." And then I sent her the first 500 words. And she was like, "Actually, I don't want anyone else to edit it. I want to edit it." She was like, "That I really enjoyed this." And she has encouraged and inspired me from the get-go to continue, but also she is so incredibly smart that I'm amazed by what her brain does.
I think we've got time for one or two more questions. So, Rebecca asks, where did the inspiration from the names of the characters come from? Which I also would love to know because they're quite unique names. And also, I found out from listening to the audiobook that I was pronouncing Acre's name wrong for so long.
I think y'all heard me slip earlier and call him Acker because
Yeah.
I've heard it like said that way so much that even so I say it's a personal preference. Um, because it was I think I read Akatar and in my head it was Rysand.
Oh.
So when I heard that it was Rysand, I was like, what? Um, and I'm not honestly, I did like a lot of TikToks of baby names.
Wow.
Scroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was on baby. I think TikTok thought I was having a baby for a long time.
On like newborn out for you page algorithm.
Yeah, yeah, basically. They were like, you want to try this baby rocker? It's like, no, never. Not doing that.
That's really fun because I feel like it's really easy for contemporary names to look at baby names things, but for fantasy names, they're usually a bit more out there. So
Oh
baby
no,
name,
I was like very specific in my searching of like Irish baby names or
yeah.
I was yeah.
Right. And one final question we've got, which I think is a good way to wrap it up. Rebecca says, "What inspired the book's title?"
Um, I don't know. I hate when like the I don't know. It wasn't a clicking moment for me. I do remember being in a thrift store with my best friend. She was like, "What are you gonna like? What's the title gonna be?" And I remember just looking at the books and going, "I think Metal Slinger." And she was like, "Ooh, I like it." Um, and then that was it. I don't know.
Oh, that's really interesting because I always wonder if authors know exactly what their book title is going to be if it comes later. But the one of the number one lines in the story for me that I hear constantly is has the title of the book in it. I don't want to say it in case there's any spoilers, but yeah, that always stuck out to me. So I think it was a perfect name.
hmm
Yeah, that brings us to the end of this chat. Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today, and also thank you for everyone for logging on and listening to us chat about Metal Singer. Again, if you haven't already pre-ordered the book or got the book, go and get it and read it because when you read that ending, you're welcome. Okay, thank you,
Thank you. Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you, Emmy, for being such a good interviewer. You really had me thinking. Um,
I put you on the spot there with a few of them.
yeah, I was like, oh no, I don't know. I never thought about this.
Amazing. All right. Bye, everyone.